The shopping mall had always been the pride of Ashwood, a rural town too small for skyscrapers but too restless to stay quiet. Families came here on Sundays. Kids dragged sticky fingers across glass railings, and elderly couples fed coins into the fountain at its center, a marble basin where water whispered endlessly under soft lights. But on a gray October afternoon, the water didn't whisper. It bled. Scarlet clouds spread to the basin like veins splitting open, curling toward the feet of horrified shoppers. And above it all, a German Shepherd K9 raised its head and howled. If you're drawn to stories like this, stay with us. More chilling truths lie beneath the surface. A quiet follow keeps the investigation alive. Rain had drizzled over Ashwood all morning, the kind that clung to windshields and turned the air into a pale mist. By the time Sheriff Daniel Mercer arrived at Ashwood Mall, the drizzle had thinned, but the parking lot was still dotted with cars that hadn't left despite the chaos inside. Blue and red lights painted the wet asphalt as his deputies struggled to keep onlookers back. Daniel stepped out his cruiser, his boots slapping down into a shallow puddle. The radio clipped to his shoulder crackled, but he ignored it. He was staring at the fountain. Even from here, through the wide glass doors, he could see the water's surface. The fountain usually glowed with a faint turquoise tint from the underwater lights. Now it churned with something darker, thicker. Red swirled through the jets of water, staining the marble basin. At its edge sat a German shepherd, fur slick with rain, ears pricked, eyes locked on the fountain. The dog wasn't panting like most working K9’s. He was unervingly still. When Daniel pushed through the glass doors, the dog tipped his head back and howled, a low, guttural sound that silenced a murmuring crowd in the atrium. Christ! Daniel muttered under his breath. Sheriff, called Deputy Carl Lewin, jogging over. She was young, too sharp-eyed for this town, the type who never forgot a detail. She pointed at the water. Mall security drained half the system already. It's not dye, it's blood. At least it looks like it. Daniel didn't answer right away. He walked closer to the fountain. The stench confirmed it before the lab tests ever could. Metallic, raw, unmistakable. He'd smelled it in farm slaughterhouses growing up. He'd smelled it in war. Blood had a way of clinging to memory. He turned to Kara, who reported it. Maintenance guy. Said he noticed a discoloration when he was doing a routine check on the pump system. By the time security gathered around, the water was completely red. That's when they called us. Daniel glanced around. Dozens of shoppers had gathered on the upper balconies, whispering down at the scene. He could almost feel the town's collective breath pressing against his back. Ashwood wasn't used to spectacle. The last major crime here had been a liquor store robbery 15 years ago. This was something different. The K9 handler, Officer Marquez, approached, tugging on the leash. Sheriff, I can't keep him off it. He won't leave the damn fountain. Something's down there. Daniel studied the shepherd, whose nose hovered just above the surface of the water, nostrils flaring. Dogs didn't fixate like that unless they knew. How deep's that basin? 6 feet. Drains into a pump chamber beneath the floor. Marquez said, Mall maintenance swears it's sealed tight. Nothing's supposed to be in there but water lines. Daniel sighed. His gut tightened the way it did when storms were about to break. Get the dive team down here. Now! By evening, floodlights threw harsh white light across the atrium. The crowd had been pushed back, though stragglers lingered at the edges. The mall's festive banners of fall harvest sale fluttered above, grotesquely out of place. 2 divers from the county rescue team suited up by the fountain. Their movements were deliberate, quiet. The blood had thinned slightly as water filtered through the drainage system, but the red still lingered, clouding the basin. Daniel stood with his arms folded, watching as the first diver slipped into the water. The K9's ears twitched, a low whine vibrating in his throat. Carl leaned closer to Daniel. You think someone dumped an animal? Maybe a deer? Could have been dragged in from the woods, shoved down the filtration system. Daniel didn't answer. His eyes were fixed on the water. Blood from an animal doesn't cling this strong. Not this long. You're thinking human, Carl whispered. He didn't want to say it out loud. Not yet. The diver's flashlight beam cut through the murk below. They circled the fountain, then disappeared beneath a hatch where the drainage system fed into the pumps. Minutes stretched then. The atrium was eerily quiet, the only sound a faint gurgle of water and the hum of machinery overhead. Then a muffled sound echoed from below, the diver's voice over comms. "Sheriff, we got something." The crowd shifted, the silence breaking into nervous murmurs. The second diver surfaced, dragging a bundle up through the hatch. Something wrapped in torn burlap, swollen and dark. The first diver followed, helping to heave it over the lip of the fountain. Daniel stepped forward, crouching as water spilled across the marble tiles. He pulled his gloves tighter and peeled back the burlap. The atrium seemed to tilt. Inside lay a human arm, pale and bloated, the skin marbled with water rot. Fingers curled as if frozen mid-grasp, nails rimmed with dirt. At the wrist, a rope had been tied tight enough to bite into flesh. The crowd gasped. Someone retched. Daniel stood slowly, staring at the divers. "That all you found?" The lead diver shook his head. His voice was muffled through the mask. "There's more down there. A lot more." Hours later, the mall was cordoned off, emptied of shoppers. The atrium smelled of bleach and wet concrete, though nothing could drown the iron tang that clung to the air. Daniel sat on the bottom step of the atrium stairs, elbows braced on his knees. He'd seen corpses before, but this was different. Bodies hidden in the fountain where children tossed pennies, where couples kissed on Saturday nights. It was obscene. Kara approached quietly, a file folder in her hands. Preliminary. Divers recovered 6 bags so far. All human remains. Not intact, cut apart. They'll need forensics to piece together exactly how many victims. Daniel rubbed his jaw. "Any IDs?" "Nothing yet. But Sheriff," she hesitated, then handed him a photo clipped inside the folder. Daniel froze. It was a locket, recovered from one of the burlap sacks, the kind that snapped open to reveal tiny photographs. Inside was the face of a girl, maybe 17, with dark eyes and a faint smile. Daniel knew that face. Everyone in Ashwood did. "Leah Porter," he murmured. The missing girl. The one the whole town had searched for last spring. They'd assumed she'd run away to the city, tired of small-town life. Her mother still left porch lights on at night, waiting. Daniel closed the locket, his jaw tightening. He'd told her mother. He believed Leah was still out there. That hope was gone now, strangled beneath 6 feet of red water. Kara's voice was soft. "There's something else." She slid another photo from the folder. A fragment of cloth, damp and rotting but unmistakable. The sleeve of a security uniform. Daniel looked up sharply. "Mall security?" Kara nodded. "If that's what it is, yeah." For a moment, Daniel felt the weight of every eye in this town pressing on him again. The mall wasn't just a crime scene. It was Ashwood's heart, the only place where kids hung out after school, where families bought their groceries. If rot was in the foundation, it ran deeper than one missing girl. The K9 shifted nearby, growling low at the fountain, as though it could sense a ghost still trapped in the pipes. Daniel pushed to his feet. "We keep this tight. No press leaks." "Not yet. If someone's been dumping bodies here, they're close." "Too close." Kara gave a short nod. But Daniel caught something flicker in her eyes. Not just fear. Hesitation. As if she knew more than she was saying. And for first time that night, a darker thought cut through him. In a town as small as Ashwood, secrets weren't buried deep. They were buried just shallow enough to be dug up when the water ran red. The morning after the discovery, Ashwood Mall stood locked and silent. Barricades ringed the lot. News vans crowded the street just beyond, their antennae stabbing at the sky. Reporters paced with microphones, teeth bare like wolves scenting blood. Inside, beneath the echoing atrium, the fountain had been drained. Its marble bottom was exposed, streaked with stains that no bleach could erase. Forensics teams moved in white coveralls, their voices hushed, their gloves wet with evidence. Sheriff Daniel Mercer hadn't slept. He sat in the mall's manager's office, the blinds drawn, the smell of stale coffee curling in the air. His reflection stared back from the darkened window, bloodshot eyes, jaw shadowed by stubble. Across from him sat mall manager Irene Braddock. Late 50s, shoulders stiff, a woman built on schedules and rules. But now her hands twisted together, trembling. "I didn't know," she kept saying. "Sheriff, I swear to you, I didn't know anything like this was happening under my mall." Daniel studied her. "Then tell me why one of your security uniforms was in that water." Her face blanched. "What?" "That's impossible. My team's small. They've all been with me for years. Trustworthy men. Someone used the fountain system as a grave. That doesn't happen without access. The pumps are locked behind service doors. Cameras cover this place night and day." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "So either you didn't know, or you didn't want to know." Irene's eyes flashed. "Don't you dare suggest." The door opened. Deputy Carl Lewin stepped in, a file tucked under her arm. She gave Irene a curt nod. "Ma'am." Then to Daniel, "We've got preliminary forensics reports, and you want to see this." Daniel stood, taking the file. Irene's protest faded into background noise. The photographs inside were worse than he expected. Limbs swollen, torso slashed, rope marks burning through pallid flesh. Not one intact body. Whoever had done this hadn't just killed. They'd butchered. 6 confirmed victims so far. Carr said quietly. Maybe more once they reassemble what they can. Daniel rubbed a hand over his face. Any IDs besides Leah Porter? 1. They found a fragment of dental record match. Calvin Briggs. Missing since last year. Daniel felt his chest tighten. Briggs had been a drifter. A handyman who'd worked odd jobs around Ashwood. Folks had muttered that he'd just skipped town. No one had looked too hard. Carr hesitated before adding. Both Leah and Briggs were last seen at the mall. Daniel snapped the file shut. That's a pattern. Irene made a sharp sound, half sob, half protest. You can't blame the mall. People come and go here all the time. You can't. Daniel cut her off. Where are your security guards now? Her lips parted, faltered. Some quit recently. 2 of them. Family issues, I was told. The rest are still employed. Names! She scribbled them down with a trembling hand. Daniel snatched the paper. Kara watched him, her eyes unreadable. You think one of them? I think someone's been using the heart of this town as a dumping ground, Daniel said, and whoever it is has a key. That evening, Daniel drove home along the back roads that wound through Ashwood's pine woods. Darkness pooled in the trees. His headlights swept across the weathered sign welcoming travelers. Ashwood, population 4,327. The number felt smaller every year. People left. Businesses closed. But the mall had remained, stubborn as a relic. It was supposed to be safe. Now it was tainted. His phone buzzed on the passenger seat. A text from Marla Porter. Leah's mother. Did you find her? Please, Daniel. I heard things. People are talking. His hand tightened on the wheel. He hadn't wanted her to hear yet, not like this. But gossip traveled faster than truth in Ashwood. He typed back, Marla, I'll come by tonight. Wait for me. Her house stood on a quiet cul-de-sac, porch light glowing like a beacon. Marla answered before he knocked. Thin drawn, eyes rimmed red. She'd aged 10 years since Leah vanished. Is it true? She asked. No greeting, no pleasantries. Just the knife of the question. Daniel's throat tightened. We recovered belongings. A locket. We believe it was Leah's. Her knees seemed to buckle. She caught the doorframe, staring at him as though the world had collapsed. You told me she was alive. You told me not to give up. I believed it, Daniel said hoarsely. Until last night. Tears spilled down her face. Her body racked with silent sobs. He wanted to put a hand on her shoulder, but the gesture felt cheap. So he stood there helpless, letting her grief fill the hallway like a storm. Finally she whispered, Who would do this? Daniel didn't answer. He didn't have one. But when he left her porch that night, the question burned in his chest like a coal. Who in Ashwood had been living with this kind of rot? The next morning, the town council demanded answers. Daniel sat in the old courthouse, the wooden benches filled with restless citizens. Reporters lined the back. The mayor, Ed Hanlon, stood at the front, face flushed. "This is an outrage, Sheriff. 6 bodies in our mall fountain? Do you understand what this will do to Ashwood's reputation?" Daniel kept his voice steady. "With respect, Mayor, I care more about what it's already done to our people. 6 victims. Families broken. That's what matters." A murmur ran through the room. The mayor bristled. "Then what's your plan?" "We investigate. Quietly. No press leaks until we know more." From the back, a voice cut in. "Too late for quiet, Sheriff." Heads turned. It was Owen Briggs, Calvin's brother. A hulking man with fists like sledgehammers, eyes hollow from years of drinking. He pointed at Daniel. "My brother's been rotting in that mall while you've been looking the other way. Don't tell me to stay quiet." The room stirred with tension. Daniel stood slowly. "I'm sorry for your loss. But if we stir panic now, whoever did this will bury themselves deeper. We need them to think we're still in the dark." Owen spat on the floorboards. "Maybe you already are." Then he shoved past the crowd, storming out. Daniel felt the eyes on him. Distrust, blame, the foundation of small-town faith cracking under the weight of blood. That night, Daniel met with Kara in his office. Files were spread across the desk. Photographs of Leah, Briggs, the others, victims with no obvious link except the mall. "We pulled employee records," Kara said. "The 2 security guards who quit last year, both disappeared. No forwarding addresses, no family in town." Daniel frowned. "Names?" "Robert Lane, Mason Kettering." The name stirred something in Daniel's memory. Kettering, wasn't he arrested years back? Assault charge. "Dropped," Kara said. "Lack of evidence." Daniel sat back, the chair creaking. "Find out where they went, if they left at all." Kara hesitated, then asked quietly, "You think Irene Braddock knew?" "She runs the place," Daniel said. Hard to believe she didn't. Kara tapped her fingers against the desk. Or maybe she was scared to know. Daniel looked at her. "And which one are you, Kara?" Her eyes flicked to his, steady but unreadable. "I'm the one still here, Sheriff. Doing the job." The words hung in the air like a challenge. The phone rang before he could respond. Daniel snatched it up. Mercer. A voice on the other end. Frantic, breathless. "A janitor from the mall. Sheriff, you better get down here. We found something in the pump chamber. Not bodies this time. Something else." "What?" There was a pause. Then, "It's a journal. Wrapped in plastic. Looks like someone didn't want it ruined." Daniel's hand tightened around the receiver. "Don't touch it. We're on our way." He hung up, meeting Kara's eyes. A pulse of dread moved between them, because journals weren't accidents. Journals meant someone had wanted to be remembered, and in Ashwood, secrets didn't stay buried forever.